Video games are often presented as systems that reward understanding. Tutorials introduce mechanics in deliberate sequences, difficulty curves assume learning, and progression systems quietly steer players towards efficiency and mastery. Even games that emphasize freedom tend to have an underlying assumption about how they are meant to be played. But most players never fully align with those assumptions. They misunderstand mechanics, ignore entire subsystems, and develop habits that are inefficient, suboptimal, or directly opposed to design intent. They brute force encounters meant for precision, skip narrative context, or reduce layered systems into a single reliable tactic. What makes this interesting is not that it happens, but how often it still works. Many of the most beloved games endure not because players understood them perfectly, but because those games were resilient enough to accommodate misunderstanding. They bend around player behavior instead of breaking under it. So let's talk about games you played wrong. A defining feature of many successful games is not how complex their systems are, but how optional that complexity truly is. Role-playing games in particular often present intricate mechanics that most players only partially engage with, if they even engage at all. Games like Final Fantasy VII present the illusion of deep strategic necessity. Materia combinations theoretically encourage synergy, elemental exploitation, and role specialization. Yet, a large portion of players complete the game relying primarily on basic attacks, cure spells, and limit breaks. Support materia goes unused. Enemy weaknesses are ignored. Summons are treated as a spectacle rather than tools. The game still works because it is tuned around incomplete understanding. Mastery enhances efficiency, but lack of mastery does not halt progress. The system feels deep without requiring depth. This philosophy carries forward into open-world RPGs like Skyrim, which overwhelm players with options while rarely demanding engagement with them. Alchemy, enchanting, and crafting exist as parallel systems rather than necessities. Many players default into stealth archery, invest minimally in perk planning, and ignore entire schools of magic. The game absorbs this behavior effortlessly because exploration and environmental storytelling carry the experience. Even The Witcher 3, a game built around preparation and monster-specific strategy, quietly allows its systems to be bypassed. On lower difficulties, oils, potions, and bombs become thematic flourishes rather than functional requirements. The narrative insists on preparation, while the mechanics permit improvisation. In all these cases, the design succeeds because it allows partial engagement. The game does not collapse when the player fails to meet its idealized version of competence. Beyond ignoring systems, players often engage with games using the wrong approach entirely. Instead of finesse, they apply persistence. Instead of learning, they endure. And instead of adapting, they stubbornly repeat what feels safe. This behavior is especially visible in games known for difficulty or systemic precision. In Dark Souls, first-time players routinely misunderstand combat fundamentals. Stamina is mismanaged, rolls are spammed, shields are overused, enemy patterns are not learned so much as survived. Players grind levels not to refine skill, but to blunt punishment. Despite this, progress continues. The game is structured to reward understanding, but it does not require it. Persistence alone is enough. This transforms the experience from a test of mastery into a narrative of endurance. The player's inefficiency becomes part of the story. Victory feels earned, not through elegance, but through resistance. A similar resilience exists in stealth-focused games like Metal Gear Solid and Dishonored. Both clearly communicate preferred playstyles, information gathering, restraint, and precision, but neither collapses when players ignore them. Alerts resolve, resources regenerate, the game adapts to chaos. In Metal Gear Solid, messy play often becomes more memorable than clear runs. Panic gunfights, accidental detections, and improvised escapes feel personal. The systems are designed to recover from failure without forcing a reset, preserving momentum. Dishonored expands this concept narratively. Many players unknowingly complete the game in high chaos, killing frequently without understanding the long-term implications. The darker world state feels natural rather than punitive. Only retrospectively does the player realize that their behavior shaped the tone of the entire experience. In these games, brute force does not negate meaning, it recontextualizes it. The experience becomes less about technical execution and more about emotional response, fear, urgency, improvisation, and survival. Playing a game wrong also applies to how players engage with story and theme. Narrative is often consumed in fragments, incorrectly or passively, and many games are built to survive that reality. Games like Elden Ring exemplify this. Large portions of the player base cannot clearly articulate the plot, the motivation of major characters, or the sequence of events. Lore is misunderstood, pieced together incorrectly, or ignored altogether. And yet this game resonates with players. This is because Elden Ring communicates meaning atmospherically rather than structurally. Environments, enemy design, music, and implication carry emotional weight even when narrative clarity is absent. Understanding is optional. Absorption is not. This approach is mirrored in Breath of the Wild, where the player is never forced to engage with story in a linear or complete way. Main objectives can be delayed indefinitely. Memories are found out of order or not at all. The game treats narrative as contextual flavor rather than structural necessity, allowing discovery itself to become the emotional core. Even games with more traditional storytelling benefit from player misunderstanding. In Resident Evil, players routinely hoard ammunition and healing items to irrational extremes. This behavior is inefficient and often unnecessary, but it creates tension. The fear of running out, whether that's justified or not, amplifies horror beyond what the game explicitly enforces. Similarly, many RPG players skip dialogue while still absorbing tone, character relationships, and emotional beats subconsciously. They may not understand the story intellectually, but they feel it. These games succeed because they allow meaning to emerge through mood, repetition, and implication. The player does not need full comprehension to form attachment. So, playing a game incorrectly is often framed as a failure of design or understanding, something to be corrected through better tutorials, clearer systems, or stronger constraints. But many of the most enduring games succeed because they allow misalignment. They tolerate inefficiency, they absorb panic, and they accept partial understanding. They do not demand mastery to deliver meaning. Games that require perfect understanding tend to feel fragile. Games that survive being played wrong feel resilient, capable of adapting to the player rather than demanding conformity. Playing a game incorrectly is not a rejection of its design, it is a negotiation with it. A quiet agreement that says, this is how I engage, and the game will meet me there. And often, the version of a game that stays with you is not the one you played correctly, but the one you played imperfectly, stubbornly, and entirely your own way. Hey, thank you as always for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I truly appreciate it. If you're new here, maybe think about going down, clicking that subscribe button, the like button, and ringing that notification bell if you want more videos like this in the future. I appreciate you, I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.